Okay, let's end with number 3. So, the key idea again is SOHCAHTOA. We're always using this. There's the angle 73. What do you call the side x? What do you call the side x with respect to the angle 73? Adjacent. What do you call the side 12? Hypotenuse. It's the one opposite the 90 degrees. So you have A and H again. Cosine. So cosine of 73 must be equal to, you have to follow the setup. It's A over H. So x over 12.
And then you move 12 to the other side.
You multiply it. So x must be 12 cosine of 73. Then calculator computation done. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now letter B, the second one. So this one. Always refer to the angle. Find the angle first. So the angle is 18. What do you call the side x?
Adjacent. Oh, wait, which one? X? Opposite.
Opposite. What about the 9? Hypotenuse. Sine, cosine, tangent. Sine. Sine of 18 must be equal to the opposite. X over 9. Same idea. X must be 9. Sine of 18. Finished. Finally, the third one, locate the angle. If this is the angle given, what do you call the side 10? Opposite. Adjacent. TOA. So tangent of 34 must be equal to opposite, which is 10 over x. Now be careful with the last one. The x is in the denominator. So when you cross, do not cross the 10. Again, do not cross the 10. The 10 is in the numerator. So you cross the x. So it's x tangent of 34 equal to 10. So how do you get x if there's a tangent 34? Divide by tangent 34. So x, let's take this away. X is 10 over tangent 34. Be careful not to interchange them. Huh? Okay? Then again, use the calculator to find this number, then you're done. Okay? You can get this tomorrow. Okay, for sure.
Alright.
Okay, so that's it. There are two types of problems when it comes to like finding angles, application of trigonometry. The first one is the elevation and the second one is depression. So before we solve this problem, let's refresh again. What does it mean when we say angle of depression and angle of elevation? So angle of elevation, from the word itself, elevation, so it's elevated. So from the ground, if you're looking for, or if you're looking at a certain object at the higher location, then from the ground, you are forming the angle of elevation. In reality, you don't see this line. You don't see this line. That's the line of sight, okay? It's imaginary line. So this is elevation. Always coming from the horizontal line. Now, the angle of depression is just the reverse. Suppose you're the one on the higher ground or on the higher area and you're looking at an object on the ground. So the angle of depression is the one coming from the horizontal line at your position down to the line of sight. So this is the angle of depression. Is it clear? In geometry, these two angles are the same because the lines, the horizontal lines here are parallel. So the alternating angles are the same. So those are the ideas that you need to know. Now let's analyze the problem. From the top of a cliff 52 meters above sea level. So there's a 52 meter high cliff. Say this is the sea level. The angle of depression of a ship is 42 degrees. So the ship is on the ocean, suppose this is the ship, the angle of depression, so from the top of the cliff, is 42. So the line of sight to the ship is this line. Okay? Can you follow? Now so how can we plot the 42 degrees? It is the angle of depression, so if there is a horizontal line here, then this must be the 42 degrees. But from the idea, the angle of depression is the same as the angle of elevation, this angle is also 42 degrees. Now, if we want to find how far is the ship from the cliff, then from the ship, you're looking for the distance from the base to the ship. And we can just simply put that as x. And then you solve it. What did you get? What did you get? So knowing this setup, how can we find x? How do we know? You have three options. Is it SO? Is it Ka? Is it TOA? How do we know? This is the application of SOHCAHTOA.
Are you saying like how far is like the ship away from the cliff, like that way or like?
It's always the horizontal distance, not the slanted distance. From the base of the cliff. It should be from the base of the cliff. So that's our x. But if we look at the triangle, how do we know if it's a SO, opposite hypotenuse, Ka, adjacent hypotenuse, or TOA, opposite over the adjacent? How do we know? Like I can always change the information, but how do we know if it's SO, Ka, or TOA? In the first place, how do we know opposite? How do we know hypotenuse? How do we know adjacent? Oh, so how do we know the opposite, the hypotenuse and the adjacent? Why tangent?
X over the opposite of x. Opposite is x over.
When we say opposite, opposite of what? What is our reference? Is it 52? Is it 42? Is it x? What is our reference? Well, going back to the question, this is a fundamental question. What should we use? Is it the sine, the cosine, or the tangent? Tangent. Okay, correct. So tangent, the reason behind is that this is the angle. This is the side opposite the angle. This is the side adjacent to the angle. So you have O, you have A, that means TOA. T means tangent. So if I set this up, tangent of the 42, because we're referring to the angle 42, must be equal to the opposite over adjacent. So opposite over adjacent means 52 over x. Can you follow? Is that clear? Okay, so that means tangent 42 degrees is equal to 52 over x. So all you need to do is to manipulate this equation. So how do we solve this equation? You cross multiply. Equals 52. So to find x, you divide by tangent 42. Tangent 42. This is very important. You should know how to manipulate the equation. So you cross multiply and then you divide when you need to divide. So that means x is just 52 over tangent of 42 degrees. Can someone find that in the calculator? What is 52 over tangent of 42 degrees? Is it 49?
No, 57.7.
Sorry?
57 point
57.75. And the unit of measure is it meters?
Yeah.
Meters. So this is 57.75 meters. So that's how we find it. But again, going back to the fundamental idea, you should know if you are going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. If you don't know how to choose from the three, then you will never be able to get the correct answer for this. Aside from that, you should know how to manipulate equations. Those are the key skills that you need to know. Okay, is that clear? Are we good with number 6? Okay, so that's it. Okay, so the main question here is that you want to find the trigonometric ratios sine, cosine, and tangent. You're not looking for an angle, you're not looking for a side, but you're looking for the sine, cosine, and tangent. But before you can find sine, cosine, and tangent, the sides of the triangle should be complete. Okay? But if you look at the triangle, we only have 5 and 13. So how can we find the third side of the triangle? How can we find? So we have sine.
5 over 35. 5 over 30.
Yeah, we were sure about sine of q or sine of theta. That's 5 over 13. What about cosine?
Cosine is not. So it's not.
We have to do SOHCAHTOA first.
The Pythagorean. Okay, we need to know this side first. So we can set up the Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
So 5 squared.
So you can have 5 squared or x squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared.
So x squared plus 25.
Much easier, you can subtract.
So this is
X squared plus 25 equals 169.
very good. And then x squared is equal to 169 minus 25. This will give you 144. And then get the square root of 144. You should get 12. Remember this size of the triangle, 5, 12, 13. They always go together. 5, 12, 13. Like 3, 4, 5. If you see a 3 and a 4, the hypotenuse is 5. If you see a 3 and 5 is the hypotenuse, the other side is 4. They always go together. They are what we call the Pythagorean Triples. They're like a combination. So knowing that the third side is 12, we can now find the cosine theta. It's adjacent. So 12, the adjacent, over 13, the hypotenuse. And finally, finding tangent theta would be 5 over 12. Okay? So that's it. Okay. So in number 4, we want to find the angle y for each triangle. The key in solving these angles will still be SOHCAHTOA. They use the same idea to find different values, okay, as you have seen in number 5 and number 6. Now let's analyze letter A. If this is the angle, that's y, what do you call this side? 2 centimeters. With respect to the angle. Okay, my question is, what is 2 centimeters? Is it the opposite, adjacent, or the hypotenuse? Adjacent.
Over the hypotenuse.
What about the 3?
Hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse. So what do we have? An A and H.
So you can use sine.
Cosine.
No, refer to the SOHCAHTOA. What can we use?
Oh, cos.
Cosine. So cosine of y must be equal to adjacent 2 over hypotenuse 3. How do we find y coming from cosine y equals 2 over 3? How do we find the y?
Cos negative
The inverse. Okay, good.
equals to parentheses 2/3.
2 over 3.
Sir, will this be on channel? YouTube. This be on YouTube.
Mathematics, yeah. I'll post the link on the Facebook account. Okay, so cosine inverse of 2 over 3. Just find that in the calculator. Okay? Can you do that on your own? Okay, let's go to the next one. This time, the angle y has this side 3 and the side 5.
5 is adjacent.
5 is adjacent,
3 is opposite.
opposite. So O and A. TOA.
Tan.
So tangent of y must be equal to 3 over 5. And then you do the same thing, tangent inverse of 3 over 5. And then that's it. You just have to find a number using the calculator. But make sure you know how to input this in the calculator. How to use the tangent inverse, the cosine inverse, and the sine inverse. You have to press the shift. For most calculators, you press the shift and then tangent, or the TAN, tan. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the last one. So if this is the y, the angle, what do you call the side 2.8?
Side.
What is the 2.8?
2.8 is adjacent.
Adjacent. Opposite is always the one facing the angle. So adjacent, the 4.2 is
Oh, no, wait.
hypotenuse. So what do we have?
Cos.
Cosine. Same with letter A. Okay? So since I discussed how to use cosine, I'll be leaving letter C to you.
Alright.
Okay? You can do that on your own. If you find S, SOHCAHTOA, you have opposite and hypotenuse, you use SO. Okay? Same idea. Different function. Is it sine, cosine, or tangent? Just different. Okay? So that's it.